I know, without a doubt in my mind, the winner of the 2022 NBA Finals is going to be. So when it comes to the 2022 NBA Finals matchup between the Golden State Warriors and the Boston Celtics, I have to be completely honest, man. I am so torn by who is going to win this matchup, and I absolutely love it. I think we are in for an all-time classic of an NBA Finals matchup just because, let's call it like it is, the conference finals, I thought they were kind of boring. A lot of blowouts, a lot of great moments, but just all of it was just drowned in blowouts and things like that, man. So I think we're in for an all-time classic, and for this video, I'm gonna give you guys my analysis, my predictions, all that good stuff going into this matchup. So, little backstory about my thoughts on both these teams real quick. So, going into the regular season, I did make a predictions video, and in that video, I stated that my favorites to win the NBA Finals was the Golden State Warriors. I basically said that, this is a team that's been kind of like under the radar for the past few seasons due to a lot of injuries, but when it comes down to it, the Warriors are still who they are. You got Steph Curry, the greatest shooter to ever play the game of basketball. You have Klay Thompson, who can turn up at literally a moment's notice, and Draymond Green that brings the whole system together. And that's not even talking about guys like Jordan Poole, who very well could have and probably should have been the most improved player, or Andrew Wiggins, who was once drafted #1 overall, never lived up to that hype, but has become a #1 overall success in his role on this Warriors team. And that's so important, man. And then on the other side, you do have the Boston Celtics. So the Boston Celtics had a very slow start to the season. And I will say, when it came down to picking a team going into the playoffs, I jumped on the Celtics bandwagon, and I was very, very vocal about it. I was very vocal about the defense of this team and just really, getting hot at that right moment in the season and everything. So it's hard for me to choose because I feel like I have a horse, with both these teams. Is that even a saying? I don't really know, man. I've never raced horses in my entire life. I went on one in like 4th grade and I fell off, and that was the end of that saga right there. But alrighty, so I think the first thing we have to do is kind of dissect the matchups a little bit, and that's going to help us, get over to who we think is going to win it. I mean, you have the offensive onslaught of the Warriors versus the stifling defense of the Boston Celtics. Like, what more could you ask for as far as that goes, right? So I think the first choice that has to be made is what type of lineup are the Celtics going to run going into the finals? Do you go more of the small ball route with Jordan Poole as the starter? Or do you go with Kevon Looney, as a starter, and he was just such a huge difference, grabbing rebounds and things along those lines, against the Dallas Mavericks. And to be quite honest, I think if you're the Warriors, you have to go with the Kevon Looney matchup. And the reason I say that is because as far as height goes and just physicality, the Celtics have that on the Warriors every single time. Now, obviously, the Warriors and their style of play has really adapted this kind of small ball thing over the course of the past, 6-7 seasons, whatever it's been. But in this case, I feel like the height, it definitely is going to make a big difference. But the reason to go with the Kevon Looney matchup is because Jordan Poole, coming off the bench, I much rather like his chances as a as a bench player, as a 6-man getting 30 minutes a game, attacking the rack against, guys like Daniel Tice or Grant Williams, as opposed to having him as a starter, maybe not getting the shots he should be taking. So yeah, Jordan Poole off the bench, I think, is the move. So we're going to assume that for this analysis part. Alrighty, let's look at the point guard matchup. Marcus Smart versus Steph Curry. Steph Curry has changed how basketball is played. Marcus Smart, the first Defensive Player of the Year guard since I believe Gary Payton, the guy that said, hey, it's no longer about being a center or power forward, be able to block shots and stuff. It's all about what you can do on the perimeter and those hustle plays, because that's the way the game of basketball has shifted, and that's how our mind should be focused when it comes to defense. So that matchup right there, obviously, Steph Curry wins that matchup because he is like one of the greatest point guards of all time. But I do know for a fact that Marcus Smart is not going to make it easy. And the fact of the matter is that, there's no good matchup against Steph Curry because he's so great. But if I had to put somebody on him, give me the Defensive Player of the Year guard in Marcus Smart. So it's going to be a very fun matchup to watch overall, and just watching, Marcus Smart kind of working off the screen and stuff like that, trying to get around him and everything and get to Steph Curry. I can't wait for him, man. It's going to be great. And the next matchup we have is, Klay Thompson versus Jaylen Brown. And I think this is kind of a toss-up matchup too. Man, these teams are so talented, which makes sense, which is why they're both in the NBA Finals. I think that this definitely has a chance to really be like a stalemate type of matchup right here. I think that Jaylen and Klay are both going to have their really good moments. There might be times where, both get a little streaky. Obviously, the athleticism. I mean, Klay Thompson still got a little bit, maybe not like he once had it, but Jaylen Brown, obviously, great defensively and everything too, man. So, once again, pretty stalemate. Both these guys are going to provide scoring to their teams, play some good defense, and I think when it comes down to it, we're not going to be blaming whoever wins or loses on either one of these guys. I think they're both going to put in the work and everything. Next matchup we have is Andrew Wiggins versus Jayson Tatum. Now, also keep in mind, too, that as far as like defensive scheme goes, we're kind of going based off a point guard, shooting guard, small forward, matching up. A lot of switchability and just things like that is also going to be very important in this series. But yeah, man, so straight up, like, Jayson Tatum obviously better than Wiggins, but once again, like, Wiggins defensively has really over the years decided to use that athleticism to his advantage. I think once again, it's not going to be easy. Like Jayson Tatum, it's not going to be one of those cases where he has these smaller players they can post up on or anything along those lines. Like, Wiggins is a very lengthy dude, and I think if Wiggins tries not to do too much offensively, I think he really needs to focus on just taking good quality looks, but also putting, 95% of his efforts into playing defense on Jayson Tatum. That's going to benefit the Warriors. But, if Wiggins does try taking too many shots or something like that, it's really going to hurt things. But at the end of the day, Tatum is better than Wiggins, and I expect him to outplay Wiggins. But once again, same case with Smart on Curry. He's not going to make it easy whatsoever. Next one we have is Draymond Green versus Al Horford. So, very good chance, too, that they do put Draymond Green on, somebody like Jayson Tatum. But I think when it comes down to it, matchup on Al Horford could be interesting. Like, Horford can sit in the corner and shoot threes, which is going to make it a little bit more difficult for Draymond, helping on defense and things along those lines. So, it might be a case where Wiggins should be the help defense guy, and he should stay on Al Horford in the corner three and everything like that. And Draymond can kind of go out there and hustle against Jayson Tatum. But also, Green is so intelligent as a defensive player that, maybe just having like a guy like Al Horford that you kind of know what you're going to see out of him offensively, that might be good for Draymond making switches and things like that, man, and just being able to direct the defense, because he's not going to have to focus on, okay, we have this guy that can score in a trillion different ways, so I have to focus on that. So it could be a W for both sides. I mean, Al Horford has had very high impact moments for the Celtics, and Draymond Green obviously is the system that makes it all work together. I think Draymond, wins the matchup overall, just as far as like the different things they can do, but I do fully expect Al Horford to have some of those, Fountain of Youth games out there and have some really good moments for the Celtics. And then you have the matchup of Kevon Looney versus Robert Williams. That matchup does go to Robert Williams. I think if Kevon can make it, not easy for Robert to be grabbing rebounds and things like that, that will be great. Defensively, traditional matchup, like Robert Williams isn't going to do too many things outside the paint, and neither is Kevon Looney. So that should be fun to watch, but when it comes down to it, Robert is the better center out of the two, and therefore wins that matchup. And then finally, you do have the bench unit. And, man, love Grant Williams. Dude's balling. Jordan Poole off the Warriors bench. And you got, Derek White. You got Daniel Tice. You got Kuminga. Iguodala is also going to be back, too. Like, low-key, that could be a huge difference. Obviously, Iguodala is not the player he once was. But he's been out for so long, and just like, it seems like this is why they got Iguodala back, for this moment. Like, say, Iggy, I know you're like 93 years old, but go, play your heart out for this series, and you will be a difference maker, man. And that really, really, like, I'm excited to see what that's going to be all about. But as far as the bench matchup goes, I mean, if Jordan Poole's come off the bench, then the Warriors do win that. Plain and simple, you have a 20-point per game score that can drop 30 on any given night. But I think both benches are great. So, as far as my prediction, who is going to win it? The Warriors do have home court advantage. I do think that's important. I don't think it's going to be a heavy blowout series, man. Like, there might be a blowout here or there, if a team just doesn't bring it one night. But I think it's going to be close all around. And I think, I know, without a doubt in my mind, the winner of the 2022 NBA Finals is going to be the Golden State Warriors in 7. It's such a close matchup for so many reasons. The only thing I can go off of in this case is the home court advantage, man. And I think also there's something to be said about experience, which the Warriors do have. They've played in the big games before. I love the Celtics team. If you're a Celtics fan, don't get mad at me about this, man. Like, you very well could win it, and I will be just as happy. But I have to make a choice. Have to make a choice at the end of the day. So I think that's fair to say. I said the same thing in the Dallas Mavericks series. A lot of people got mad at me about that. I was like, well, I mean, the Warriors got like the experience and stuff like that, and people just totally shrugged that off. Called me a Luka Doncic hater, which I'm not. I promise I'm not a Boston Celtics hater either. I literally changed my avatar on Twitter to me in a Celtics jersey with Jason Tatum behind me. But I'm being a realist here, man. Not trying to be biased or anything like that. I do think the Warriors prevail and win the 2022 NBA Finals. That's all I got for this video, man. Thank you all so much for watching. If you're still watching, by the way, be sure to drop that like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and peace out, my friends.